Okay, so Miranda, tell me about a time when you stepped out of your comfort zone.
Where do I start? I feel like I live my life 10 meters beyond my comfort zone edge or border. But wow, when do I start? So there's personally or professionally, I guess. So the biggest phobia in the community is public speaking, and I'm a motivational speaker and previously an actress. So, and when I say previously, I mean in high school. So like previously. And I guess that is a form of living life on the edge of your comfort zone. And um, so my whole profession is based around that. I feel like I am a professional skydiver in terms of comfort zone, public speaking for a living in front of all different audiences, and I love that, and I love the personal development that comes for me, and I learn as much teaching as I do, as I'm sure the people listening do. And then on a personal level, I've pushed my comfort zone many times from growing up essentially in housing commission and on Centrelink with a single mum, poor. I had all the love
Yeah.
in the world, so I was rich in that way in a beautiful family. But when it came to material resources, definitely was a struggle. And so I learned at a young age that if I was going to create a life that looked like the one on my vision board, I was going to be the person who had to make it so. And so, I really had a job from the age of 14, and that was a push in my comfort zone. I worked in Maya and I was 14, and most of the people at the group interview were in their 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
And I found a way to, I guess, talk the talk, walk the walk, and fake it till you make it. And I now kind of call that reel it till you feel it.
Yeah.
And all of that was definitely a comfort zone push, and then going and pursuing education around things that have now led me to be a professional soulmate coach and matchmaker, and put years and years of study, hard work, investment into the context of helping people with their love life, either
Yeah.
couples or singles. And also I've had a really full on personal story, and I guess the climax of that story happened when I lost my mum to mental health. And I say that deliberately rather than using the term committed suicide,
Yeah.
because suicide unfortunately rhymes with homicide, and committed implies that a crime was committed. And in fact, a tragedy happened and a choice was made to the best of someone's ability who had limited choices due to mental health. And it's like when you hear people talk about cancer, they don't say they committed heart failure. They say they died due to cancer. And there's a huge amount of empathy, and it separates the problem from the person, and it gives it the empathy, but then you can tell that person's story with love and light, and that cancer doesn't become their whole narrative either. And so I really like to do that around the topic of mental health and say they died due to mental health, because that is as accurate as they died due to cancer. And
Absolutely.
if you want to get into the nitty gritty, you can tell the real and raw specifics of the cancer story and just how hard that
Yeah.
was. Same with the suicide story, but it's not an act of self murder, and a crime to be,
No.
it's a really heartbreaking invisible cancer that gets a lot of people, and it needs to be described in the same way. But I guess going through that when I had not had a big grief story myself,
Yeah.
I hadn't even lost my grandparents at that point, and so to have my mum, who was my best friend, die in that way and so unexpectedly, it was a huge push of my emotional comfort zone. And to further deepen that chapter of my life, and that comfort zone push in particular, my mum was a single mum, and I had a little half sister, and I don't really believe in half siblings. It's kind of like being half pregnant as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned. But um, I adopted her on the day that my mum passed away, and there's an 18-year age difference. So I was
Okay.
always like a more maternal figure, and I kind of babysat my sister as opposed to hung out with my sister. So
Yeah.
that adoption, even though it sounds weird, it's actually not because of the age difference and the dynamic that was already there. But to have kind of the day that you lose your mum and become a mum happen within 10 minutes of each other. Most people, even if they do adopt, get several months to get their head around that, or get 9 months of the gestation period if they're having a baby naturally. And I had 10 minutes to make that decision, which didn't even feel like a decision. It was a
Yeah.
spiritual knowing that that's what I wanted to do and chose to do, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And in hindsight, the worst day of my life was actually the best day of my life, and that being the core reason for that. But all of that was a huge comfort zone. I was a 30-year-old woman and had no children biologically of my own or adopted. And I did not know how to be a mum. I did not know how to grieve. And both of those things were two huge journeys. I didn't know how to be a woman in this world without my mum and best friend. And so to go through that grief and that parenting journey simultaneously was a huge push in my comfort zone. I had to one day be speaking to grief counsellors and be saying, how do you do grief? And then the following day I'd be running a motivational seminar for 100 people, teaching them how to live their best life. So people talk about the wounded healer. I was the healing healer. And I would have to say to my little sister when she was 10, which was, she was around that age when I took care of her. And I used to have to say to her, Lily, what do I feed you? Lily, what do I do with you on school holidays? Lily, is it appropriate to leave you alone at this age? Like, I didn't know that stuff because whilst I babysat her and looked after her, it was for a half day or an overnight stay. I didn't have to worry about that stuff or know about that stuff. So, it's kind of one of those stories where you think, could there even be more? And yes, there's more. Around that same time, I was actually engaged to be married, and the exact year that I was meant to be planning my wedding, instead I was planning school fees, a funeral, and when I found out my partner of 7 years was cheating on me, I was also, the year later, creating my Tinder profile. So I was creating a funeral, school plans, and a Tinder profile instead of creating my own wedding. And so that year, I thought I lived my whole life on the edge of my comfort zone, but I realised I had been parachuting with a parachute, and that was the year that I realised it's time to start parachuting without a parachute. And that builds resilience, because when you reach the ground and you go, shit, I did this, you realise how strong, positive, powerful, resilient and resourceful you really are. And until pushed to that edge of your comfort zone and then booted beyond that again, you actually don't realise how incredible the human spirit really is if you let it be, and if you have the right tribe around you, and if you accept the right help. You couldn't have done it solo. And to this day, all of that has been pivotal in me having the confidence to quit my job, start my business, become a matchmaker in an industry. That's putting yourself out there going, I can help people find love. That's terrifying, especially when you're a perfectionist and you're not God. All of it's been so rewarding, and I think in hindsight it couldn't have happened any other way. It was definitely all perfect for the kind of life I want to live and person I want to be. And I know my mum's my guardian angel, cheering me on and helping me with the human stuff, and I'm cheering her on and helping her from here with the spiritual stuff, and we're a team. So that's my story.
That's such an amazing story. Your attitude is amazing, Miranda. One of the things that came to mind is when you're talking about the conversation you had with your daughter, then you must have the most amazing relationship with her that you can have.
I do.
Being the sort of parent who can have that conversation and say, hey, tell me what to do. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. And that sort of real and raw, authentic attitude has continued. And thank you for calling her my daughter. Sometimes people don't know if they should call her my sister or my daughter and I'm like, I just call her my little one. I've called her that since the day she was born, and she is my little one, and she would be no matter whose home she was living in. So she's just my beautiful human. I just love her so much. And I am a perfectionist by nature, and all of this comfort zone pushing story has really, awoken that perfectionist trying to control everything, but it's also put her in check and taught me that being imperfect and being authentic is what's perfect, and life isn't perfect, and that's perfect. And, being a true role model and parent figure and guardian angel to her, and also my mum being that to me, perfection is not part of the criteria. Authenticity is, and doing your best is, and that's what's perfect. And to this day, I've had meltdowns in front of her, and I've said, I am not okay, but that's okay. And then I've let her witness me be at rock bottom, witness me dust myself off, and witness me ask for and manifest and receive the right help. And I think that is being the ultimate best version of yourself, and also being the ultimate role model. And I share these stories with her, with my clients, and I don't aim to be the coach and mentor that, is healed and arrived and perfect on the other side. I want to be an example of authenticity. And, I'm a work in progress and will be till the day I die, and that's absolutely fine with me. And I hope I give permission for it to be absolutely fine that that's other people's journey, and you can be the best version of you and real and raw simultaneously. And in fact, you being you is the best version of you.
Absolutely. What an amazing role model you are. That's
Thank
so
you.
special. So
Oh,
special.
she's my role model. She inspires me so much because, to see her go through that. I was 30, she was closer to 10, and the positivity, the resilience, the love and light, the kindness, the strength that came out of her. I mean, I had a good 2 decades on her of life experience, and I had in-depth studied personal development, positive psychology, and all of that stuff. And she was literally just flowing with it, doing her best, and showing up as that, love, light, and innocence. And, you know, many days I've learned from her, and she's been my role model and my example. And yeah, it's just incredible to see, yeah, what human beings can be put through with their comfort zone, and how it can actually make them and not necessarily break them, and just how beautiful human beings are.
Yeah. So what would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned from being thrust that far out of your comfort zone?
Wow. The lessons have been a bit like a Rubik's Cube, where sometimes the lessons have been messy and all jumbled up. Other times there's been the yellow lesson, the red lesson, the green lesson, and the lessons are evolving year by year as I grow. And
Yeah.
I guess, the first initial lessons when all that happened were, don't leave anything unsaid. Tell the people you love them. Hug the people you want to hug. Be true to you, be vulnerable, love others, be there for others, and do all of that stuff. I guess the chapter after that was, everyone does the best they can with what they've got. So don't have any regrets. Even if something like that happens, I don't ask myself why or what I could have done differently. I have moments where I do, but overall, the 95% of the time narrative is everyone does the best they can with what they've got, including my mum, and that was her doing her best. And within that decision, there was some kind of solution or relief, or her doing her best. And whilst I will do whatever it takes to do my best to prevent that happening to any individual or any family left behind, I respect that and honour that. And I know she was doing her best. I know my dad was doing his best when he left the family home when I was 6. I know I was doing my best when I was running a seminar inspiring all these people with my story, but I also know I was doing my best when I was on the floor and couldn't get up, and had severe depression and anxiety and had to be on antidepressants. And the current lesson is, my life, and I believe life, but certainly my life, is about love. And it's really about loving yourself, loving others, and loving life. And in a previous lifetime, especially growing up poor, I thought it was all about the stuff on my vision board. I had the Range Rover Sport, the property, the body, and all of that stuff. And I still do. I've got looking at my vision board now. But what I have done is I've cut out photos of my life right now, and the things I love about myself, about my soulmates, romantic and otherwise, about my life right now. And I
Mm.
remind myself of the importance of gratitude, because when you give yourself these big goals of all the stuff you need to accumulate so you can have all this significance and change the world, all of that does come from a positive place, but it takes time, it takes effort, and there's no guarantees, and we can't control shit most of the time. But what we can decide is, I'm going to love myself exactly as I am today. I'm going to love others exactly as they are today. And I'm going to love my life exactly as it is today, and have immense gratitude. And from that place of gratitude, even if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, I would die with a smile on my face. And if I live to be 111, which I plan to, that gratitude is going to be a magnet for my goals. But I'm doing it because it makes me happy today, not because it's going to guarantee my goals tomorrow. And, over the top of my picture of my soulmate, I put a photo of the relationship I'm in right now, and it's really weird. The photo of us kissing looks exactly like the photo that I'd been striving toward. And so instead of me going, oh, it's all about, we've got a commitment ring right now, and instead of me focusing on the marriage and the kids that might be around the corner, it's like, look, I've got that energy and that kiss right now that I wanted. And around the kids, I've got photos of having a family. And I put a photo of Lily there, and instead of me and my partner's kids, and instead of me going, oh, I'm a certain age and my biological clock's ticking and da 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 da. It's like, I've got little ones in my life. I'm so grateful. I've got my fur children, my dog and my cat. The career, I've got a photo of me helping millions of people in a global empire. And I've got photos of clients today saying thank you for transforming my self love, or thank you for helping me meet my soulmate, or thank you for helping find the spark, or recover from breakup, or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
so I think that immense gratitude and loving yourself, loving others unconditionally as they are today, and loving your life as it is today is really, and you can summarize that by saying it's all about love.
Mm, amazing. Um, so, Miranda, if someone was reading this blog when I'd written that, and they were thinking about doing something that made them uncomfortable, what advice would you give them?
Fall in love. I often say to people, if you want to do deep personal development, you could do an ayahuasca ceremony or do a retreat in Bali, or you could start a business, or you could fall in love, because those two things are going to bring up all of your shit. Starting a business is like building a parachute, jumping out of a plane and building a parachute on the way, and so is falling in love. And they're both going to bring up all of your wounds, all of your insecurities, all of your belief systems that tell you why you can't, and all of your inner child that is scared shitless. And you can either crash, or you can find a way to build that parachute on the way. And for some people, I'd recommend it's right for them to quit their day job and do that in one big chunk. For other people, start a passion project, start a blog, start a charity, start a side hustle. And for people that are single, some of them have not ever had a relationship before, and just creating a Tinder profile is their version of that. For other people, they're dating and just telling the person they like that they like them, and getting friggin' vulnerable is the answer. Other people are in a relationship and maybe admitting that they need to do some couples coaching to really fall back in love with that
Yeah.
person. And for the people that are in love and their relationship feels like the notebook, maybe it's time to stop prioritizing the bills, the court cases, the house, the renovations, and renew your vows. Ask them to be your person, get a commitment ring, tag them in on Facebook as your partner, do whatever that vulnerable jumping out of the plane looks like for you. And it doesn't have to be, there's no rules around what that looks like, public or private, but it's about vulnerability. Vulnerability is your ultimate strength. Put yourself out there and give yourself permission to free fall. And yes, you might crash, but you might also realize that you can fly.
How fantastic. So, Miranda, I think I've got the contact for the most amazing blog. Your energy is just beautiful, and it's fantastic. So, before I stop recording, is there anything else that you want to share?
No, I feel like my cup is empty. I spoke from absolute love, light, and authenticity, and you did the
Yeah.
same thing, so the magic happened.